like it is, Facebook Live. Sorry for the little start. We had a little delay. It didn't go live for whatever reason, but we are live now. I'd like to thank Brenda Wadey for joining me today. Brenda, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you today, Jade? It's nice to chat with you.
Oh, I am fantastic, and I know you had a late meeting, and this will be my first actual interview done from a car, so there's always a first. I like that.
Well, that's great. It's nice that you could be so flexible to let me do this where I needed to, because I do have to be someplace by 10 o'clock. So.
Well, hey, that's what makes the Facebook Live so, which is one of the reasons why I love it. It's interesting. You have to adapt on the fly. It's kind of like business in general. So you just make it happen, and that's the way it goes.
That's great.
So I'll give an introduction here, and then we'll get right into it. So Brenda makes big idea happens. She challenges organizational habits while uncovering positive alternatives. Her strongest skills are listening, distilling the information into clear, concise messages, and articulating it into key decision makers to mobilize impact. She has a long history of being dropped into unfamiliar territory where she learns the information necessary to make the work get done and projects take off. This is something that comes naturally to her. So I know when we met, obviously through LinkedIn, and it shows the power of LinkedIn, we met for a coffee, and I love your background with reputation and mitigating risk, and it's something that is talked about a lot in today's workplace. So, I mean, we hear a lot about maintaining a good reputation in business. What are the things that entrepreneurs need to consider that will help build their brand to protect their reputation?
I think one of the key things is communicate, and communicate often. The more you communicate to your audience, the more likely you are building your brand. And then on top of that, when you're consistent with your messages, you're also building your reputation as someone who sticks to what they say and does what they say. And that's really critical to building your reputation in business.
No, absolutely. I mean, communication, we always talk about communication. It's a big point of discussion on this show. So when you talk about communication, is it employee to employee, employee to boss, employee to customer? Is it all of the above, or is there one that's more important?
You know what? I think communication across the board is really what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's really critical when you are communicating outwardly to your audience or to your customers that you're also communicating the same information through to your staff or your employees or your business partners, so that they are on the same page as you all the time, and that there's opportunity to work in that in a way that is consistent across the board, so everybody knows what's happening most of the time.
No, I think you brought up. We had this conversation with somebody a few weeks ago about the partner to partner relationship, and I had a few people that were going through some we'll call it difficult situations, and some of them, by the sounds of it, aren't going to be able to be resolved. So even in that partner to partner, I think it's so important to I guess be honest and be straightforward and have those solid communications.
Yeah, and it's really critical that you are both on the same page and that you understand how you're going to do business. If you're doing business
Uh-oh. I think we have Brenda is frozen. Oh, there you are.
My telephone decided to ring right at that moment, so sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, communication one-on-one with your partner is really critical. But when I'm talking about communication, I'm also talking about the messages that you're sending out to your staff and also to your customers. Whatever your business is, you need to be consistent in the message that you're sending out to your customers, and also make sure that your staff is online with those same messages.
No, absolutely. I'm talking with Brenda Wadey, and we are talking about reputation and mitigating risk in your business, which is a crucial topic in today's in today's environment. So how do companies or individuals put themselves in risky situations that could harm their reputation?
I think one of the biggest ways that can create issues for an organization is being inconsistent with the information that they're giving out. And what I mean by that is if they say they're doing something, they need to do it that way. And if they do one thing and say another, then there's going to be difficulties often with their reputation. So, easy way to sort of think about this is that you want to be on point with what you say, and you want to make sure that it reflects the values of your organization.
No, absolutely. So if someone, do as I say and make sure everything is all right there. If someone actually has to change they're saying something and all of a sudden a situation arises, they have to revamp the way they're going to do it. Obviously, telling the customer, your employees, or your business partner ahead of time is a better place is a good place to start rather than just going ahead and doing it without telling anyone.
Exactly. You need to make sure that the information goes out first. Even when you're thinking about making change, one of the biggest factors in a good, solid change management plan is to communicate what the changes are, why they're happening, and what the vision is that you have for that change. What's the benefit for your staff, for your partner, and for your customers?
No, absolutely. Again, it all comes down to communication. So in a situation like that, when someone, they requires to take these steps to repair reputation after it's been a little bit, we'll say tarnished, what do you recommend? And can you share any examples of any situations?
Sure. One of the things that I recommend is, again, communicate often and communicate consistently. But also watch what's happening on your social media and pay attention to what people are saying. Often you have an opportunity there to tell people what's going on and what the accurate information is, and it's also an opportunity to take a look at pushing out some positive information as well at the same time. The other piece is to really be clear with your staff about what's happening and what they need to be aware of to mitigate the issue that's come up. Some of the sort of simple things that you might want to think about is that you've had a staff person who's been disgruntled and they've gotten on social media and they're saying some really negative things about the way you do business and who you are and what you're doing. And one of the things is that you need to be able to pull that conversation offline as quickly as possible. Most people really are going onto social media because they want to be heard by somebody. So if you can offer that opportunity for that disgruntled employee to be heard, then you're more likely to be able to solve the problem quickly and easily and offline.
So obviously social media is such a big a part of business in today. And you said that with a disgruntled employee, take it offline. If there are customers out there that are doing the same thing, do you recommend that you take that offline to them, talk to them live, or do that via email? What do you think the best way to handle that is?
You know what? I'm a real believer in that personal touch. If you can reach out and talk to somebody face-to-face or on the telephone, you're more likely to be able to solve the issue than you are through an email. Because you know what? We all feed our emotions into what we read or what we see in a letter, an email, or a post on social media. So we're seeing things through our own emotions. So when you take it offline and have that personal conversation, you have the opportunity for people to see that that you're acting with integrity and that you believe what you say and that you're going to follow through on what you're telling people that you're going to do. And that's really the critical piece to solving any reputational issue, is that you are going to follow through.
No, I agree with that, and I'm so happy that you said that. I mean, any customers I work with, or even my personal one, if there is a conflict, it is something I say, here's my phone number, please call me. And I find almost every single time that I've done that, it has been solved like that. And, the person's there, you're able to talk to them, there's a voice to it. If it's in another place, sometimes I've done a Zoom with them as well. And it is such a, we are losing this touch and in today's digital world, and to bring that back into play, it could take a big misunderstanding, and it brings it down to a small level, and we move on. I even go as far as to ask them to let them know how I handled it on social media. If you were willing to complain about it, and I've asked the people with clientele to say, hey, how did we resolve this problem? Or, share it. Is that something that you think is a good idea?
I actually think that's a really great idea, because the more you can get the information out, that you deal with things quickly and you deal with them well, and you follow through on what you say you're going to do, the more useful that is to the people that are out there and seeing things third party. Because when you're talking about social media and complaints on social media, often what it is it's the views that are third party that are going to impact your business negatively.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. I'm glad we were able to touch on social media a little bit. I mean, especially on, Twitter can get a little out of hand at times as well, but I could probably talk a whole day on people in Twitter. So
Social media is a great tool, but it can also be a huge risk for your organization, because you need to know what the messages are that are going out, but also what the messages are that are going out about you.
yeah, you better be monitoring your social media accounts and the messages and the content that comes in. And I know the people that I work with and myself, I respond to pretty much every single comment that comes in. And if someone, Twitter's a little bit different, but it needs to be addressed. So that's very good. So I guess what's next for yourself, Brenda?
Well, I'm working on building my business so that I can do more consulting for small and medium organizations, and that's kind of what's next for me, is just to continue to get my name out there, build my reputation so that people know that when I do work, I do great work.
No, absolutely. That is important. And I think so many companies could use somebody that, like yourself, even just to come in and give them a little tidbit of advice on how to handle things. And I mean, people just assume that they have a good reputation, and they assume their company has a good reputation. And to be able to put a program together to monitor that, it's so important. To be proactive rather than all of a sudden you have a problem and then you're reacting to it. That's where a lot of things can go wrong.
Well, if you've got a really good, solid plan in place about how you're going to approach any kind of reputational crisis for your organization, then you know the steps that you're going to take if something does happen, and your staff knows the steps to take when something does happen. So there's things like scripts for on what needs to be said and how the information needs to get out. And that planning, that upfront planning for any kind of communication is really critical for organizations.
No, absolutely. Great point. I love that, saying that there's scripts for different situations. That's excellent. So I know we're kind of a little bit short on time today, but if you had one piece of advice for a small business entrepreneur startup getting going to help them, obviously, with the set up for reputation and mitigating risk, what would it be?
My big piece of advice would be to start to develop some kind of plan on what you're going to do if there's some negative information that gets out about your organization. What steps are you going to take? And what are your opportunities to make things different for your company?
No, that's great. Being prepared is step one. If you're not prepared, then you're just reacting, and that's usually never a good thing.
It isn't. The more proactive you can be in any kind of communications, the better you are for your organization. So positive information goes out. You have a positive reaction to any kind of information coming back in, and you make sure that the conversation is two-way, so that you're not just pushing information out to your audience or your customers. You're also welcoming information back.
No, absolutely. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today, Brenda, and sharing your knowledge on reputation and mitigating risk. I think it's so important for organizations to talk about this openly and not just assume that everything is going to be smooth sailing all the time. So if anybody ever wants to get a hold of Brenda, you can reach out to us here. You can email myself or contact us through Facebook. So again, Brenda, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your knowledge today. And I'll let you run, and I'm sure you have a little walk to get to your appointment today.
Thanks very much, Jade. I really appreciate chatting with you this morning. It's been fun.
Oh, I enjoyed it, and now I can say I can knock off the car interview. So that's one more off the list.
That's great. Okay.
Thanks, Brenda. Have yourself a great day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.